Hey there, everyone, and welcome to our module on the Praxis Core Math Test Prep. While you prepare yourself to take this math section, here are some important takeaways and points that I hope will help you to feel confident on test day as you prepare to take this exam. I want you to remember that this test can be taken with the reading and writing sections of the core Praxis, or it can be taken as a standalone test itself. That test code for a standalone test is 5733. Reference that as you look at different materials, as you prep and/or as you register. I'll provide some more registration information for each of you this week in our module. And in regards to when you should register to take these tests and the math test specifically, it is recommended that you complete your general education math classes and then take the Praxis Core Math. If you've already done that here at Cape Fear, the time might be now to go ahead while it's fresh in your head to take this Praxis Core Math. Remember that this is, in most cases, an entrance requirement for a school of education, and so you will want to take the Praxis Core, if not right now, probably in the year ahead as you are accepted into a school, a four-year university, and then you apply to that school of education and get accepted. In all cases, before they will let you complete your student teaching, you most likely, almost certainly, will need to have this completed. So don't delay too long. All right, let me give you some tips and tricks that will help you ace this test. Here's what you might need to know. The test format here is very important and very important that you practice and prep for. The Praxis Core Math test is 90 minutes long. It's pretty long. And in that time, you're going to be asked to answer 56 questions. So here's your first math problem. Quick math, how much time do you have per question? That's roughly a minute and a half, right? You really need to keep a steady pace as you work through this math section in order to ace it. Let's talk about what I mean when I say ace it. The math, the reading, the writing is a completion. You either pass or you don't. There is no extra credit or rank ordering that allows you to be accepted or denied into your school of education. So our goal here is just to pass. Don't sweat getting the highest score. It's either you pass or you don't. In the event that you don't, remember that you can retake this test as many times as you need to prove that you have learned your basic skills and are proficient. So don't worry if you don't pass it the first time. You can take any section, just that section in isolation again. All right. And on that note, one other trick, most people do choose to bundle the core test together because I do think that will save you a little bit of money. Again, I'll post that registration information up for you this week, and you'll see that bundling reading, writing, and math together does save just a few dollars. All right. Here are a few other things that you need to know about the math section. There are oftentimes some sample questions that they are just trying out to see how they work, mixed into the actual exam. These won't actually count towards your score, and you won't know which ones are which. You want to treat every question like it matters. But if you walk away from this test feeling like there's some unfair questions in there, maybe there was. Maybe these were some of the sample questions that they were trialing. Next, you do not need to bring your own calculator, whether you go to a test center or you're at your house. An on-screen four-function calculator will be provided. All right, you're going to want to use this calculator to do some of the math. The calculator will handle all of the basics for you. You will not be allowed to bring your own, nor do you need to. Remember the testing options. You can take this test at home in the privacy of your own home. It will be proctored, so you'll have a video proctor, or you can take it at the test center. Pros and cons of both. You think about what works best for you. Make sure that your technology is ready if you test at home. You're going to need that computer, not a Chromebook. We know that the Chromebooks don't support the platform well. You're going to want a webcam, you're going to need a microphone, and you're definitely going to need a secured quiet testing space. If you prefer that testing center, as you'll see in the registration information, we have lots near us. You'll see that in the ETS website, and you can choose the test center that works best for you. They will provide all of the equipment for you. You're just going to bring your ID and that required paperwork. That's all you'll need to bring to the test center. I feel like scheduling tends to be a bit more flexible when you schedule at home. Some students are asking, well, when should I test? And again, I encourage you to reach out to the university that you plan to transfer to get some specific information. My recommendation to students is generally this: math can be hard. Finish your general education math credits here at Cape Fear and then take this test while it's still fresh in your head. You usually take the Praxis core at about the same time that you transfer to it for your institution, and it is what gets you into that individual school of education, and that usually happens in the second part of your junior or transfer year. So you'll want to be taking this test pretty soon so that nothing is slowed down in your process of completing your 4-year degree and your licensure. Let's talk about the question types that you're going to see on the math test. All right. The Praxis math exam has single answer, multiple choice, classic question types, and you're going to see a problem. Choose the correct answer. They have circles next to those answer choices that you'll click, and that will be your standard multiple choice. There are also some select all that apply questions, and I don't love these at all, but the way that we know it is a select all, obviously it'll say it in the directions, but if you see square buttons instead of circles, this is going to mean that there's more than one correct answer. So square indicators mean select more than one, right? Circles indicate just one. The question again won't tell you how many, right? Select all that apply. It's not going to say how many, but you will know that there may be more than one best answer. Read carefully as you go through this test. Next, you'll have the option for some numeric entry questions, and these are like fill in the blank scenarios, right? You type the number directly into the box. Usually that is either a whole number or a decimal, but it will be numerical. There are a few fractions that you'll see the cursor pop up and then down, and even some expressions that you will type out, but you will just be using the number keypad to do those. All right, you want to get comfortable with all 3 types through the practice this week, through the practice questions this week. All right, the content areas. Let's go over what's actually on the test in terms of the content and the vocabulary that you need to familiarize yourself with. Vocabulary is really important. You can't do the thing if you don't even know what the thing is. For example, if it's asking you about mean, median, and mode, you need to know what that means in order to apply it and actually complete the math problem. The first type of question is going to relate to numbers and quantity. This is about 36% of the exam. It's 20 questions worth. Integers, fractions, decimals, ratios, percentages, units of measurement, proportional reasoning type of questions. It's basic math that you learned about in elementary and middle school. It's been a while for most of you, so make sure that you take a moment to review it and it's sharp in your brain. Because again, some of these things that you haven't visited in a while will cause you to pause and you don't have time to slow down. You need to have them fresh in your brain so you can keep moving at 1.5 minutes per question. Next section or type of questions we'll see are data interpretations. This is going to be representations, maybe some statistics or probability. It's about 32%, 18 questions. And this section will require you to read those tables and graphs and charts. It's going to ask you to find the averages. This is where you might see mean, median, and mode. Solve some basic probability questions. Again, nothing too difficult. For example, you might have a question that says, if you roll the die, what's the probability of rolling a 3? All right, 6 sides to a die, 1 out of 6, your answer is going to be 1/6, right? Some pretty basic level math, but you need to refresh in order to feel confident. The next section is algebra and geometry. This is a more challenging section for some students. It's about 32%, another 18 questions. And in this section, you're going to solve for x. You're going to simplify equations. You're going to interpret those equations. All right, this is an area I really want some of you to review. Geometry is going to cover those familiar shapes. Don't be fooled by vocabulary you haven't heard in a while, like quadrilateral. Obviously, triangles and circles isn't going to give you a problem, but make sure you're up and savvy on your vocabulary and how we solve some of those geometry problems. You might even need to calculate the area or the circumference of a circle, find angle relationships. For some of you, it's been a while since you've done that, so make sure to revisit that. And get a good formula sheet for the geometry questions that helps you remember all of those geometry formulas, right? Go and find yourself a good cheat sheet with some of those so you can refresh and remind yourself how you're going to walk through those. Let's talk about other ways that you might prepare efficiently. You're going to understand the test after this module, and you're going to think about your time. You're going to think about your pace and how you're going to work through at a rapid pace. You might do this by reviewing all these math concepts that you haven't used in a while, and then you're going to practice, 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 because the practice builds your confidence and it also builds your speed. Every practice problem you complete is going to help you to recognize similar patterns and question types that you're going to see on test day, so that you see it and you think, oh, I've done one just like this before, and you knock it out quick. I cannot say it enough. Utilize those practice test questions. Work on a 90-minute test so that you learn how to find your endurance on this thing, and track the areas that you need to specifically strengthen, right? The more that you practice, the more natural it's going to feel. I've given you a lot of materials to review. It is your choice and how you review this week and where you put in all of your energy. I hope that you can come up with a study plan that works well for you. But in the event that you're feeling really lost and floundering with all of this, remember there are sources to support you. I would love to walk through a study plan with you. I'll be honest, some of these math concepts I struggle with too. And so I will encourage you to branch out to friends at the tutoring center, the Learning Lab here on campus, or through tutors.com. They can offer wonderful one-on-one math test prep support. That is the best thing you can do if you are feeling unsure in one of these content areas. Take some subjects, ask them to do some review of the concepts, maybe even provide them with some of the test questions that you're struggling on so that you can work through and renew your understanding of these math concepts. I hope that this week you find the information and the materials very useful. I can't wait to see where your studies and your test prep take you. I wish you all the best as we jump into a challenging but rewarding test prep module. Have a great week, everyone.